Near. What do you have for us?
Wowee, wowee, wowee.
Mhm.
Um, I watched Sorairo Utility. Um,
It's
also known as
the
what is
golfing series of this season.
yeah,
Or
Sky
although
Blue
are there two golfing
Utility.
series? Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sky Blue Utility. Are there two golfing series, or is this the only
I
one?
think
I
there's like a season two from last season that's carrying
Yeah, because I'm
over.
having PTSD from like previous seasons where there were like two or three golfing series in one season. I'm just like, okay,
Yeah,
what's happening?
yeah. Yeah, this is a golfing series. This is a Yostar Pictures original anime. Um, so kind of interesting. Um, the basic premise is the main character, Minami,
Mhm.
um, her favorite gacha game, shuts down. It gets EOS'd. Um, and then she's like, "Man, what the hell do I do now? What do I do now?" And so her best friend is like, you should join a club because your high school days are only so long or whatever." And she's like, "Yeah, I guess I should do that." So she tries out a bunch of clubs, tries out a bunch of sports, and she's bad at all of them. It's not good. Um, and she kind of just gives up immediately. Um, and then when she's walking home from school, she helps out this old man who seems to be having some trouble carrying his bags. Um, and she ends up sort of helping him carry his stuff to a golfing range, sort of a I don't know what is like the specific name for them, where it's just like the tee that you shoot into like the netted area.
Driving
Um,
range?
yeah,
Like,
driving
Yeah,
range.
yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those, and she meets this girl named Haruka, who's uh a little bit older than her. But she sort of gets uh inspired to, give a shot at golfing, right? And she ends up, having quite a bit of fun. Um,
Hmm.
and it sort of goes from there. Um,
Hmm.
she makes friends. She does golf.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She slowly gets better at it. Yada yada yada. Right? Pretty
Yeah.
standard.
And it's
Standard
not
sports
like
stuff.
it's a
Girls
lot of
doing
more just like
stuff.
doing it at the practice range, at the driving range, and kind of just doing 9 hole, 18 hole kind of stuff. And it's less like it's not like some of those other series where it's like we have a competition academy for horse riding or
Yeah.
whatever it is,
At
right? It's
least,
it's
at
just
least
a
not
little
yet.
bit.
I'm sure there
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sort of like my first competition kind of thing, but it's
Yeah,
less.
because
It's
usually, like,
less.
golfing clubs tend to have a or not in, like, high school clubs, but it's like, you know how there are golfing club, like, houses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That have, like, that are next to, like, actual golfing courses.
Yeah.
Golfing courses usually have a golfing club, and they tend to have, like, tourneys every once in a while. But,
Yeah.
yeah,
Of course.
they'll probably do something like that.
Yeah, but for now, it's a lot more casual. It's a very sort of her like Minami sort of uh finding something to sort of, I guess, you know uh dedicate herself to, right? Sort of finding her way in the world with, golfing being sort of a backdrop as, uh a I guess an activity that she can do to sort of measure her own growth as a person, right? Something that she wants to dedicate her time to, that she can actively see, progress and improvement in. Um, and it's pretty casual.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
That so how
it's
much so I think there's a decent amount of I mean, there's, like, a nice trivia. I think some of the whole, like you know how for instance, like, I don't know whether you watched, like, the Fat Elf series, right? But,
yeah,
you know how in some of these, like, trivia series with, like, physical therapy or, like, sports, they sometimes Japanese anime have weird trivia that, like, doesn't really make sense sometimes. Like, there's some of that a little bit, but for the most part, it's like it's a nice little series with, like, bits and pieces of, trivia put in.
yeah.
Some of,
There's
like, the
not
practice. regimens are a little bit weird, but yeah.
Yeah, there's not too much trivia in this one. It's
Yeah.
kind of just like, this is kind of like what certain clubs are for. This is kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they do some gags about, the price of a set of golf clubs, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's why you
Um,
always get, like, the old do they I only skimmed through the series, but do they ever talk about just, like, because like, the standard answer to that is that's why you
that's
always
why you
get,
always get used.
old model. Yeah, used
Yeah. So
for, like,
so they
25 bucks.
they the bit they do is Haruka gives Minami her old golf set, right? Like her old
Uh-huh.
set of clubs, from I guess back when she was, because they've alluded to that like Haruka used to be, um, basically like pro, like she was pro, and then I
Yeah,
guess
yeah, yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
happened and she sort of, stepped to the side. Um,
She's Obi-Wan, essentially. Yeah.
yeah. So Haruka gives Minami her old set, and Minami's all happy. She's like, "Yay, I got my own set," kind of thing. Um, and her friend is like, "Do you know how much those things fucking cost?" Um, and they look it up, and it's like the full set that like she has. Like if she were to buy it brand new, it was like 2 million yen or something.
So,
Um,
okay.
and so
Yeah,
Minami
that's
is like,
around, like, 15, $20,000,
yeah.
in
So
USD, yeah.
so Minami's like, "Holy shit! Like, am I really like allowed to accept this?" And Haruka's like, "Don't worry, they're used, so like they're basically like worth a fucking fraction of that." Um,
Mhm.
so they do sort of comment on the whole like, yeah, buying used. I think the most recent episode was her. She sort of they were like going through a sort of golfing like sports goods store, and she eyes this one club. um I guess it's a utility club, right? And it's like the one club that she has missing in her set, right? And
Mhm.
she's kind of smitten with this club, like it looks really cool, and she wants it. um, and the manager's like, "Yeah, I'll give it to you for 20% off, and it's 30,000 yen." And she's like, I don't know about that one, man."
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so the manager's like, "Well, you could sleep on it, right, and come back later." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do that." And she comes back later, and the club is now like, it's like, um, it's like 37,000 after she comes back, and
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah,
"What?
yeah.
Like, what the fuck happened?" And the manager's like, "Oh well, the sale rotated, haha." And she's like, "What the fuck?" And then the whole bit of the episode is like, "Well, I'll give you the sale if you can beat me in
Ah,
um
okay.
like a golf off thing." And they do the whole like, the digital things where you put it into like the projected screen, and it
Mhm.
gives you like the measurement or whatever. They do a sort of competition with that, and it's a whole gag. Um,
Right, right,
but
right.
yeah, it's not too focused on the trivia. It's more about the
The girls?
comedy, the sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, the girls being friends with each other. A little bit of character introspection here and there. Um, but yeah, it's mostly about just kind of talking about how like a lot of the early episodes are basically just like, yeah, golf is like really chill, and like you don't really need to worry about like whether you're good at it or bad at it, or you know
Yeah.
whether you're making like whether you're doing a certain amount of holes within a certain amount of shots. It's mostly just about kind of lazing about for a day, your holes, and
Yeah.
having lunch with your friends. It's a very like chill sport is kind of how
Yeah.
they depict it, which is cool. I like that they're not like doing the whole like, I have to be the best golfer in the world.
I have to be the
I
golfing
have to I have to
master.
spin this ball at such a specific angle, and the wind is at uh you know fucking
Chris
12
Pettis?
kilometers per hour
Yeah.
at 8 degrees longitude and latitude. And it's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
it's not like that. It's like the earliest episodes are literally um like Minami and Haruka doing a 9 round thing with like a couple old dudes and being like, "Yeah,
Right.
man, like we're fucking old. This is like all we
Yeah,
do." And it's
yeah.
it's fucking awesome. But yeah, it is a fun series. The comedy is pretty good. The pacing is pretty good. I think it does a really good job at balancing a sort of very chill, sort of laid back vibe with a pretty snappy, comedic pace. The jokes are pretty good. The visual gags are pretty good. Um,
Mm.
it's pretty, it's pretty good, especially because this is an original series, right? Like this has like no sort of source material or manga gags for them to pull from. Um,
Mm.
so that's something to appreciate, that like all of these gags and like the visual gags and references and stuff. Um, somebody actually storyboarded these and thought of these instead of just being like, "Hey, what did the manga do?" Right?
Right.
So it's cool. Um, audio visuals. Again, this is Yostar Pictures, who recently they did what was it, like the Go Go Loser Ranger series.
Yeah, and then
They
before that,
recently
they did
did
girls? No, they did
they
they
did
do
the
girls?
Arknights
Yeah.
one
Arknights,
and
yeah.
the Blue
Alright.
Archive anime as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, this I think this is kind of their, I guess, push for more original
Yeah,
stuff,
because they've
more,
been expanding recently, I
yeah, to
think,
be more of
right?
a an anime studio instead of just like, yeah, they're the guys that do the gotcha game adaptations, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, pretty cool. Um, But yeah, the audio visuals are they're pretty standard.
Yeah.
The animation is pretty good. The
Yeah, the
actual
animation is quite good. It's just like I think what I sort of felt was almost um not it was almost like a limitation of animation, like 2D animation right now to be able to or like y- yeah, to be able to properly animate a really good looking golf swing because I think it's very, 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 very hard to do that
yeah, well,
in 2D
so
animation because you have to
a
show kind of the 3D kind of angle as well, like of that swing.
yeah, I think like 2D animating a full golf swing
Smooth
is
golf swing, yeah.
a very, it's almost a practice in like just pure anatomy, right? Because
Yeah, and like
there
perspectives because it's like if you
yeah,
don't because you could see also like in the golf swings in like some of the initial golf swings when even when they did it like quite well, it kind of ended up looking like they're just rotating, like, right above their head, but that's not really what they're doing, they're kinda, like, angling it back and then bam, just, like,
yeah.
going for that, and it's hard to, uh, animate that and the hips and everything else.
Yeah, there are a couple, I think, like really snappy ones that are like
Mm,
sort of halfway through the swing that are really well animated. I think in like episode
yeah.
2 there's some pretty good ones. But yeah, for the most part they do cheat a little bit, especially with the putts and stuff by kind of just doing a top down like angle of the ball being hit by like a CG club. Um, but it doesn't look terrible. And it's not like they're the actual like characters themselves are all 2D, which is, um, nowadays, I guess, something to applaud. Um, but yeah, it looks pretty good. The colors are nice. The palette is very colorful. It's pretty cheerful. Um, the soundtrack is pretty standard. It's not nothing too remarkable. It's chill enough when it needs to be, and it's
Mm.
poppy when it needs to be. The OP, I like quite a bit. Um, it's Shujinko ni Naro by Masayoshi Oishi, featuring
Ah, nice, like
Ari Suzuki. It's a really nice OP.
wow.
I
Yeah.
think the visuals are pretty cute. They're very colorful, very snappy. Um,
Mm,
and the song is very catchy, in my opinion.
mm.
The ED is a bit more boring. It's Su Heisen by Moika Yahagi. The pretty standard sort of like montage ED. Um, it's like the anime characters sort of over. Um, they're kind of like overlaid onto like live action pictures of like the beach and stuff. So it's like them hanging out at the beach. It's cute, but it's pretty standard.
Mhm.
Not really animated, right? It's just kind of a montage of pictures.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But otherwise pretty standard. I do like the OP quite a bit though. quite cute.
Yeah, I'm glad that they
Um,
bring because they, you said Suzuki Airi, right? Because, Suzuki Airi and, Oishi Masayoshi
yeah,
Oishi actually run, a very famous, quite famous, uh, mainstream television show called like Anisong Desho or something like that, where they bring in stuff like voice actresses and Anisong singers and stuff like
right.
that, and they sing, their own songs and they interview and stuff like that. So that's like a very famous MC duo that obviously both of them have very good singing chops by themselves, and now have collabed together on this opening. So that's quite nice to see.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite nice. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the audio visuals. I think they're pretty good. Um, you know, the voice acting is a bit of an interesting situation because the main character, um, Minami, is voiced by Miyu Takagi, and I think she's not necessarily new, but she doesn't have that many roles.
Uh huh.
Um, she's done some stuff back in like 2014 with Wake Up Girls, and then uh, that's kind of like she's basically just like Wake Up Girls, like
And
locked
D4DJ.
in, I guess,
Yeah.
for the rest of it. And then she did some stuff in Healer Girl. She did some stuff in D4DJ, Isekai Smartphone, and then I guess Station Buta, and then now she's a main role in this. It's kind of a
Yeah, she
weird,
got a proper main role. Yeah.
yeah, kind of a weird car- career trajectory, I guess. I will say,
It does happen with some people because it's like because there's so much like there's so many freaking voice actresses and voice actors in Japan. It's such like a bustling industry that sometimes you just get, you lose your brand or you don't get into the additions you need. And for like years at a time they just go underwater for a bit,
yeah,
doing
yeah.
random stuff and then they come back up. Yeah.
Um, Haruka's voice actor, Yurina Amami, has a similar sort of situation where she's
Uh-huh.
not necessarily a newcomer. This seems to be one of her more recent main roles, with the other, I guess, last one being like some supporting stuff in what is this? Um, Kabushiki Shikaisha. Um, yeah, a lot of supporting roles in the past few years. So this seems to be her first like big main role, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I will say the audio, like, um, it's kind of weird. Like the audio mixing and recording quality of the voices feels a little bit more budget than you would, I guess,
Okay.
typically hear from most anime productions these days. Although I feel like that was mostly only in episode one. I feel like in episode two, it got a little bit better. So
Cleared
I
up.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if just like the file I got was odd or whatever. Maybe they just had some issues mixing that one. But yeah, this series is overall it's pretty nice. I think it's a fun watch. It's a pretty laid back series, right? Um, there's not really much to dislike about it, although depending on what you're looking for when you're going into it, um, you know, you might want something different. It is more girls in a club kind of doing things, although obviously they're not really in a club, they're kind of just in a friends group in this one. So it's a bit more just kind of like girls hanging out and also doing golf instead of like
Yeah, it's
a
less like one of those sporty like, oh, what was it? Like not recent, but 1 or 2 seasons ago where they had to do, I think Toast covered this, like the cycling anime, or where they had that competition, or like they're not like doing high speed racing or whatever. It's more akin to like Let's Make a Mug or Judo Camp or something like that.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure. Um,
Oh.
so if that's something you're looking for, I would definitely recommend this. If you're looking for like a sports series, uh,
Uh-huh.
this is probably not it. Um, there have been there have been a lot of golf series coming out, for some strange reason. So I'm sure if you're really into
Yeah,
like the competitive aspect of golf, there's probably a series already out.
probably like
Um,
Tombo or something. Yeah.
yeah. but this one's not really it. And personally, I appreciate that because I find golf really boring. So
Yeah,
the
so I
fact
was about
that,
to say, like, it's golfing as like theme for anime to pick up and for manga to pick up on is sort of like it's a natural evolution of because golfing has been hitting its stride for at least a few years now, both in Korea and Japan, stuff like that. I think in China as well, but it's been on mainstream TV, like, all the time, alongside fishing, but fishing kind of, is, like, a little bit more on the wane these days. But golfing has been pretty popular on mainstream right now, and I think a lot of, because, the people in these production committees are the same people, the same old men who are doing these TV station stuff and watching these shows, right? So I think
yeah,
a lot of them are taking an advantage of that mainstream golfing popularity to push more golfing anime, and it's also kind of matching up with the aging. I would want to say probably slightly aging demographic of the manga anime audience these days, right? Because the audience, right, that have watched manga for and sorry, read manga, watched anime for years are now getting into their late 20s and 30s and stuff like that, right? So it kind of fits. But somebody actually mentioned on social media, like, this really flew under the radar. It's like I wonder why. It's pretty solid. And my guess for that is that golfing, as Near kind of just said, um, golfing is a very hard series to make it look attractive and exciting to an audience that knows nothing or very little about golfing. I think like one might be like, excuse me, like mahjong, I don't get any of the rules in that. Like, and people are just putting down styles with them. Like, well, why is that any different from why does that have appeal as opposed to golf? It's because mahjong is a little bit more focused. Like you can always kind of spin it back into the mind games, bro. The 1v1, like head to head, and like is
yeah,
he just bluffing or blah blah. And you can always kind of generally spool it out in like a more abstract sense, like about how you're playing the mind games. I can't put the you know um and like am I just going for small like runs or like what's happening here? Um or am I kind of trying to go for a bus bike, trying to complete this Yakuman? But it's like you can kind of do that, and since it's like a 1v1, it makes for a naturally more tense kind of series. And then you add on stuff like Saki did Majin Ball Z, right? And then Akagi always has those like dramatic scenes and stuff like that, and that kind of worked out. But with golf, it's a little bit different because even there's no other than, like, putting, other than, like, doing the putt into, like, the hole in, like, the last, like, 1 or 2 strokes, right, of a hole, there's no real tense moments, quote, unquote, in golf.
yeah.
It's and
Nothing's really like
yeah.
actively happening in golfing other than being
Yeah, yeah.
like I'm hitting the ball or I'm not. You know
Yeah,
what I
again, like
mean?
the putting, like if you're doing like, I need to make this one long one put, um, like that's like 10, 15, 20 meters away to, get this up in properly, right? And get the birdie or get the par to win the round, right? And that's like one thing. But like golfing isn't just those like puts, and most of golfing is like setting up for like a bunch of other stuff, and all the other stuff is relatively peaceful and relaxing, and to the people who don't know golf, boring. So it's like, and even to the people who know golf, it's, like, refreshing to see it, but it's not like, "Whoa, oh my god, like, this is the most freaking exciting thing I've ever watched." It's like,
Yeah,
no, it's like fishing, right? So, it's very hard to sell it to people, especially an audience where if you're, like, the lineup of anime, right? It's not like a lineup of TV, right? Where with TV, you have golfing next to a fishing show, next to a cooking show, next to, some discussion on like politics or whatever, right? And they're all very kind of like samey in terms of tension. It's like in anime, for when you're appealing to an anime demographic, or even if you're just appealing to a general Netflix watching demographic or something like that, right? Or Hulu watching demographic. You're putting golfing next to like Squid Game, next to Isekai Mao, next to, like Don Da Don or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's so hard to like you can have a good golfing anime, but it's hard to compete eh, with viewers that want something more like a Don Da Don or like a Trigun or something like that, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to sell,
I do
I think.
think, yeah, I do think it was a much smarter decision to focus more on, the girls, being friends, doing, girl stuff,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
while also, having their sort of shared interest of golf being sort of a backdrop, a sort of general backbone for this series to just be like, hey, yeah, we play golf and golf is cool and we like golf. But also we're girls and we're friends and we hang out and we do
Yeah.
stuff together and that's kind of just the show, right? Um,
Mhm,
and I feel like um if that's something you're into, if you like those series like we brought up earlier, like the Yoda camps or the Make a Mugs or whatever. Um, this is definitely up your alley. But if you're really into golf, you really fucking love golf, um, you might not get that much mileage out of it. Although I will
yeah,
say
this is much
I
more
did I
casual
did
for sure.
really like the old men in this series. They were really fucking funny. Um, but yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm,
I'm a fan. Um, Overall, I think I'd probably give this like a 7. I think it's pretty
mhm.
good. It's sitting at it's sitting at a 6.79 on Mall, um, which I think is a bit unfair, but Mall is Mall.
Yeah.
I guess this series just isn't zoomy enough for some of them, so
They should be in, like, Soul Level, like, she should just get a sword and, like, kill the other girls with,
true, true. She should just get the ultimate golf club and hit all of the holes in one.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah. Um, I guess if that's it, then again, thank you very much, Nier, for your coverage of Sorairo Utility. I guess like if you hadn't done it, I would have because I don't mind golf and I've played golf and I like watching golf and stuff like that. But for me, if, like for some reason, just a lot of golfing series didn't really stick with me in terms of anime, like how they were structured. But I'll probably check this one out a little bit more because I do like kind of like the tone that it sets. So thank you
Also,
very much.
a fun little
Yeah.
thing is apparently um, I don't know if other golfing series have done this, but
Mhm.
apparently, companies like Yamaha are going really hard in selling like themed, uh, like golf clubs and golf balls,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
specifically like in collaboration with this anime. It's kind of
Mm,
funny. But
yeah.
yeah,
Because because it's how do I say this? It's the golfing market is very closed in by like a couple of brands, right? And it's like usually these are like Western brands, but like it's kind of hard to break in. So I think a lot of Japanese brands are also excited to kind of be able to sell their brands because usually if it's when people think of like for instance golf balls, right? It'll be like Titleist is probably the most famous one. Callaway, I would say probably second famous, and then Bridgestone. You have TaylorMade stuff like that. But it's like you have a couple of these brands that everybody realizes, everybody looks to, and they don't buy like anything else. Because why would they? Like if these are the brands. Like it's like this is Nike for its shoes, like for instance, right? They're like this is
yeah.
Nike. This is a new brand or whatever it is. This is Hoka. Like, just go to these brands. So it's very hard to break into that market. So I think a lot of Japanese brands are using this as like a little bit more of a boost to their market share, at least in Japan. So yeah. Anyways, thank you very much, Nier. Again, this was Sorairo Utility. I believe this is an anime original, right?
Yep.
So this is an anime original done by Yostar Pictures. Yostar Pictures kind of taking on more like anime original and like anime adaptation works on their way to kind of branch out, similar to how like Side Games Pictures are doing it, but a little bit more obviously on the Chinese side as well. So, if you like a little bit more relaxed series, cute girls in a cute club doing stuff, but with golf, and not like, oh, this is the competition or whatever. Please do check this out.